Welcome back, explorers. I'm Alistair, this is the Highland Hikers, and today I'm heading up a hill which, as of a few weeks ago, didn't really fall into any of the main categories, but today it is now a Graham. So we're heading up this way and we'll get there fairly soon. So you may ask yourself, how does a mountain or a hill change category? It's not going to grow very much, is it? And then you've got the question of, if we had a massive enough cairn on the top, does that change the actual height of it? That's a debate for another day. So it's kind of two main ways that a hill or a mountain is going to change category. One is that it was mismeasured in the first place, and now it's been measured again. The true height has been determined, may either demoting it or promoting it into a different category. The second way is if that category is changed, and that's what's happened in this case. So just behind me here we have the summit of Well Hill. That sits at a height of 606 metres, and like I said, up until a few weeks ago, as of time of filming, this hill wasn't a Graham. Today it is a Graham, and that has come about because the owner of the list, who has decided to determine what qualifies as a Graham, has slightly tweaked the lower limit of a Graham. So up until a few weeks ago, a Graham was classified as a hill mountain between 2,000 and 2,500 feet tall, and it also had to have a prominence of 150 metres. So there's a bit of imperial and there's a bit of metric measurements in there, and because of the way the feet transferred into metres, the upper limit was 762 metres, but the lower limit was 609.6 metres, and there were a number of hills right on the 609 metre, which are meant to be fantastic, but because they weren't within the Graham category, they were maybe getting a wee bit overlooked. So the owner of the hill list decided that lowering the lower limit of that would include them as well, and by changing the the qualifications to completely metric, he's gone for a lower limit of 600 metres. So as a result of that, there are now 12 extra Grahams on the list to bag, and today I'm heading up the first of those 12, which we've never been up yet, so it's going to be a nice wee day. You can see it touching the cloud up there, unfortunately. There's much to be expected from the forecast, but hey ho, I'm exceptionally glad to be out today. So I have reached the summit of Well Hill, and there is nothing whatsoever to mark the highest point, unfortunately, up here, so I've done my best to say I've been at the highest bit, but hey ho. Well Hill is situated in the Lowther Hills in the south of Scotland, so a way off over this way here is Green Lowther. Douglas and I went up there many years ago. That was a great day. We never saw a single thing. Highlight being Ronnie diving headfirst into a snowdrift, which he thought was a great idea, but turned out that wasn't such a great idea. But today, yeah, it's taken me about an hour to get to this point, and as you can expect, on a hill which hasn't been really classified as anything, there's not another person up here. It's also a weekday, and weather's not exactly great, so it's not exactly encouraging people to come up here in the first place. However, today I have a good wee bit to go. We're going to head further over this way, and once we come off this top of this hill, we're going to head along an old Roman road. So I'm kind of interested to see what is left of that, and see if there's any artefacts that we could see anywhere about down that glen there for snaking back round and getting back to the car. So I've still got a good, what, 2.5 hours of walking at least. So I'm quite looking forward to that. Hopefully as we drop down, we'll get out of the cloud, out of the mist a wee bit, and the views will open back up again. So fingers crossed. My route today is about 13 kilometres long and has just under 700 metres of ascent. It should take me maybe about 4 hours, maybe a wee bit less. It's kind of hard to say, it's not exactly a well-defined route, so there's a wee bit of wayfinding. However, for the majority of the route, I'm following this fence that you can see behind me, which does make it a wee bit easier when it's claggy like today. So and the second half of this walk is fairly flat. Once you come off the top of the hills, we've got a nice path to walk along, but I'm going to get to see what that's like. So I've finally reached a trig point on this route, and this is Black Hill. It's just over 500 metres tall and kind of marks the end of my undulating walk along the top of these hills. I'm now going to head back down, head towards this Roman road and head back home. Strangely enough, the path that I've mapped out is pretty much falls on what's like a wee ATV track, so the going is actually much easier than I expected. So hopefully it continues down the side of the hill. It's certainly heading that way, so keep our fingers crossed, and we'll be off this hill and back down onto level ground very shortly. So I am now onto the old Roman road, which snakes its way back up towards the start. It's a good thing to point out that this is a steady ascent pretty much the whole way. If you don't fancy walking on this old Roman road, you can head over to the other side of the glen and walk up, which I think is the kind of farmer's access road that has been built. I have no idea what that's like underfoot, but you can see it clearly contouring around the side of the hill, so I'm guessing it's probably going to be fairly well constructed, although it's not going to be tarmacked or anything like that. However, sticking on this side, as well as getting to walk up a very old road, I've come across this old Roman fort, or a fortlet as it's mentioned on the map, and you can see this ditch going round this kind of wee raised bit in the middle here. I'm not going to pretend that I know anything about these kind of things, but it's pretty cool to see something like this. Thinking that, oh God, how long has it been since people actually maybe lived in that? And probably there's a good structure that once sat on top of that. So I'm going to fly the drone, see what it looks like from the air. I'm sure it will look a wee bit more spectacular from up there. So I have walked the length of the Roman road, heads up through the glen, ascending the whole time, and eventually you meet back up with the kind of farmer's access road, which I'm walking on now. I've got another 4k on this to go, and as soon as I kind of reached the kind of pass of the glen, it was, you can see like behind me, there's just nothing. It's wall to wall fog. It's getting a wee bit dark, a wee bit creepy as well, which is quite cool. But there's really not much left now. It's pretty much flat for the rest of this way. I'm not going to be going downhill before I reach the start point in the car where I'll head home from. I hope you have enjoyed this first look at one of the 12 new Grahams that we have on the list. I'm sure we'll probably get round those 12 in full before we get round all of them, no doubt. Or we'll certainly not be leaving one of those 12 to the last one, I should say. And I was quite actually surprised to see that Roman fort. I'd checked out and I knew the Roman road was there, but I hadn't looked to see that the wee fortlet was there, so that was pretty cool to see. So if you have enjoyed the video, you know what to do. Usual thing that we always ask. And we shall see you on another hike.